Oh, yes. Welcome aboard. This is the Passball Show brought to you by JohnPielli.com. Today is Monday, the 27th day of December, 2017. Lots of stuff we're going to get into today. Just want to throw the phone number out there if you want to be part of the program. The number is 732-364-3598. And I'm going to take a couple hard stances on a couple things going on in the world of sports, but the Passball Show, if you haven't seen it before, it's the only show that focuses on baseball and its history, controversial sports topics, and uniting America. And we're going to talk about the first and the third a little bit later on today, and I do want to get into something that kind of does bother me a little bit. And I'm taking a stance, a feeling that I have, and I'm putting it out there. And I think there's going to be some people that may disagree. There's obviously a huge stance that's been taken against what I'm about to say was done incorrectly and wrong. And I do want to make this a discussion. It's not just about what I say, it's about what we talk about. And I've said all along when I talk about the unifying of people in regards to the United States of America, it's very important that we talk about things and talk about what's right and what's wrong. You may disagree with my points, but I bet you if you think deep enough, you'll find that some of the research that I've done and some of the points that I make do make a little bit of sense. And I may not be 100% along the lines of what you may agree with every time, but I am throwing some facts out there. And I mentioned on an earlier program that there's something out there that is more powerful than a court of law. And we saw over the weekend, particularly Sunday, when you find that a qualified college football coach lost an opportunity to be a head coach at the University of Tennessee. And it was because of the court of public opinion. Those who have spoken out against this potential hire are mistakenly making it about the kids that were abused by Jerry Sandusky during his several seasons as assistant coach at Penn State. And the problem that we get into is we feel as a people that we're always trying to throw almost undue justice out there. That by taking down anybody that we could possibly take down, we're making more justice for the kids. And this couldn't be any further from the truth. There's a point that I haven't heard anybody bring up on any radio program or any television program talking about sports today. Because there is a problem with that. As the public, as we use our powerful voice of public opinion that we have the right to use, we have the right to use it to judge anybody. In a lot of cases, we use it in the wrong way. And the bottom line is, if Greg Schiano was hired by the University of Tennessee to be their head football coach, Jerry Sandusky isn't going to be throwing his hands up in prison celebrating. Because the bottom line is that Greg Schiano had nothing to do with Jerry Sandusky. In fact, if you want to make a bigger point about this, Greg Schiano had less to do with what Jerry Sandusky did to the children than big-time whistleblower Michael McQueary, the former Penn State quarterback who obviously was an assistant under Joe Paterno, has gotten a lot of national fame. And they've thrown his name out there as being the hero for being the person that was able to get this case on Jerry Sandusky. And the real heroes of this case were the kids that spoke up. The kids that were abused, that stood up and went to authorities and described what happened. That got Jerry Sandusky indicted and convicted, not Michael McQueary. And in all honesty, for those who are trying to keep Greg Schiano from ever getting another head coaching job in his life, you've been way too kind to Michael McQueary. This was a person who testified that he witnessed firsthand a rape being committed by Jerry Sandusky on a little boy. And the best thing that he has to say about it is that he went through the proper chain of command. He didn't try to stop the sex act, nor did he bring the police there at that very moment, which is what any decent human being would have done. Yet he gets treated as if he's some kind of hero in this case. A hero that's sitting on millions and millions of dollars that he won by suing the school. Is he really that much of a hero? Yet we look at this guy as he is the prime whistleblower. The person that did what nobody else could do. And all he did was simply follow the chain of command. He told his coach. He told people at Penn State. What does that do for the boy that was just raped right in front of the man's eyes? He didn't do anything to stop it. He didn't call the police and bring the police there at that very moment. Yet he's treated like a hero. Yet you could use third-party hearsay to say that Greg Schiano was on the staff, and because his name was allegedly brought up as maybe somebody that could have seen something, he is blackballed from the likes of college football to ever be a head coach. And by the way, that didn't stop him during any of his time at Rutgers. He was there forever. He coached in the National Football League. So obviously he's proven that he can coach at a high level. Yet now we have the alumnus and the people that think they're doing so much for the University of Tennessee because they got the university to not hire him as their head coach. Yet these people could care less about these children that were brutally raped by this assistant coach, Jerry Sandusky, for years upon years upon years. They're not doing any justice for these kids. They're using their court of public opinion by taking, in some cases, misguided information, and they're actually taking a false stand here. So I don't know if this guy's ever going to get a chance to coach again. You know what? Actually, I'll be honest. I'm rooting for him to get a job. I know he's the defensive coordinator at Alabama. I hope he gets a head coaching job somewhere. But do I really need to hear any more from Michael McQueary? Yeah, here's a guy who hasn't been able to get a job himself. And I bet you he's just been bitter for all these years, the last couple of years, watching Schiano have success. And he goes and he name drops him and gets the guy essentially blackballed from ever getting a head coaching job again. But once again, it's proof that the court of public opinion is more powerful than the court of law. Sometimes you don't need to be convicted of something to just have enough cloud around you because of the heinousness of what was involved in it. Jerry Sandusky is the criminal, not Joe Paterno, not Michael McQuarrie, not Greg Schiano, not anybody else that's been on that staff, which, by the way, if you want to implicate people because they coached with Joe Paterno while Jerry Sandusky was there, how come there's been no cry out against Al Golden, the guy who had a chance to be the head coach at the University of Miami? He's currently in the NFL as an assistant coach. But if Al Golden took a job at a prominent school, would he be subject to the same backlash? And what about Matt Millen? Of course, there was a longtime general manager of the Detroit Lions. What if he wanted to take a job as a head coach in college football? Would he be subject to the same backlash that Greg Schiano is going against right now? Probably not. And there is something fishy behind this. And I'm looking at a guy in Michael McQuarrie who probably doesn't have to work again because of his, $7+ million he won by suing Penn State. But I'm sure because of that, he's lost, if not interest, he's probably lost some opportunity. And if he's looking in the mirror right now, is he happy for what he did? Does he feel like he is better because he ruined another football coach's opportunity? And once again, where is the investigation? If you want to make this to be about something that Greg Schiano did or didn't do. All that's on the record is him being asked about it and denying that conversation ever took place. He wasn't brought in under the Sandusky trial to testify or even to put in a deposition. Yet, just because Mike McQuarrie decides to name drop Greg Schiano loses all his opportunity to ever become a head coach at the college level again. Now let me talk about something else that I don't want to hear about. Do we really need to hear Albert Haynesworth's opinion? As if we forgot about this guy's professional football career? Albert Haynesworth, the same person that is literally stomping on helmets of opposing players during games. All of a sudden, because of the voice of reason? Was there anybody that was listening to Albert Haynesworth when he's trying to make a plea for the university to not hire Greg Schiano? And if you want to see anything else that could have been any more embarrassing, it would have been if Tennessee actually took his word for it. Yeah, that's a good voice for character. Sure, I want Albert Haynesworth, a man who stomped on helmets of numerous football players with their heads still in it on the football field with spikes, is going to give the University of Tennessee advice. Yeah, that's who I want advising me. In fact, I hope Albert Haynesworth has a career in law ahead of him, because I'd love to hire him as my lawyer. Yeah, honestly, something like this that just reeks of such foul. And maybe there can be some more information. You know what? If there's any legitimate information that gets thrown out there that connects him to having any knowledge of this, I'd like to know. I'll make another statement and I'll retract what I just said. But it's been a long time since this is all unfolded. And Greg Schiano has not been pursued as a witness or a person of interest in these heinous crimes against Jerry Sandusky. But because he was name dropped, he has no opportunity to ever be a head football coach in college football again. The bottom line is it's not right. This guy had success at Rutgers. Of course, he had a hard time in the National Football League. A lot of college coaches have struggled in the NFL. Would have been interesting to see what he could have done if he was given another chance to lead another program. But once again, because he was name dropped, he loses an opportunity to get a job that he probably deserved. But once again, you listen to the alumnus at Tennessee, all the outspoken people, and they'll talk about how big of heroes they feel. They feel like they saved the day. Yeah. Problem is that court of public opinion, once again, proves to be more powerful than that of the court of law. The only thing that's up there is the court of the NFL, right? Ezekiel Elliott's not facing any charges for domestic violence. Yeah, he's got to serve a 6-game suspension in the National Football League. Or what about Major League Baseball? Juris Familia has an argument with his wife. There wasn't even any concern, any proven violence that happened in that situation. And he serves a 15-game suspension in baseball. So, yeah, I guess the only things that are stronger or more powerful than the court of law are the court of the NFL, the court of Major League Baseball, and most importantly, the court of public opinion. Somebody could be found not guilty in a court of law, but if some schmo really feels like he's guilty and wants to put enough of a case against them to slander them, to destroy them, to badmouth them, they have more of a chance of succeeding than that court has to have another case retried against that person. Once again, John Pielli, happy to be with you on the 27th of November 2017. The number, once again, 732-364-3598. We'll go over Pielli's picks. I'm going to pick the Monday night game, trying to improve on my record. We actually had a good Sunday. Out of the 5 games I picked, we went 3-2. One of the games, I'm telling you, I had the right idea. And we talk about the Jets and the Carolina Panthers. There's something about the Jets and their play on the field that was a little bit inspiring. And if you watch that game against the Carolina Panthers, you saw it. And I'll say this, I'm no Jets fan. But there's something about a team that's together, that's playing hard, and it seems to care. And in spite of the loss and the sad turn of events in the latter parts of that game as the Panthers ended up pulling away, They showed that they're willing to go out there and play football every week. Something we haven't seen in that other team from New Jersey that calls itself New York. And there is something up with that Carolina Panthers team. Cam Newton is playing well. He's not dominating though. And as you're watching this season unfold, the National Football Conference, as I've said before, it's going to be such a crapshoot. Not just who's going to advance in the playoffs, but who's going to get there in the first place. And of course, you have the AFC where you got the 4 and 6 teams, the teams that are battling for that last playoff spot, which is going to be interesting. And it's actually kind of fun right now. That yes, you got the Patriots and the Steelers and the Eagles and the Saints and the Rams who are kind of in a league of themselves, and the Minnesota Vikings. But you also have a bunch of teams that are kind of trying to start to play football at the right time. And if we've watched the National Football League, and if you watch postseasons in other sports, it's not the best team on paper that ends up winning championships, that ends up going on a big run in the postseason. It's the team that's playing the best at the time that matters the most. And I don't know if there's a 4 and 6 or a 5 and 5 team or 5 and 6 or, a 6 and 5 team that has a chance to win the Super Bowl right now. But if you look at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, they've had a couple solid weeks in a row. The Buffalo Bills are pretty interesting too. And I know a lot has been said about the decision that Coach Sean McDermott made to pull his starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, and start an inexperienced 5th-round draft pick rookie in Nathan Peterman, and his 5 interceptions in the first half. It's all in the past. Buffalo Bills have a good defense. They may not be competing for a Super Bowl, but how would it be in the end if they end up making the playoffs outside of all of this? Certainly had some interesting games yesterday. The Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs look like they've fallen right out of an airplane and are just crashing to the ground, ready to hit the ground and explode. Yet, you could go back about 4 or 5 weeks ago and hear all your NFL experts talking about how the Chiefs could very well be the best team in the AFC. And if there was one team that could take out and beat the mighty New England Patriots in the AFC, it was the Kansas City Chiefs. What happened? Now, all of a sudden, we hear all the questions that we heard at the beginning of the season. The Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes. Fans are saying, why isn't he playing? What's Alex Smith doing here? Well, yes, Alex Smith has been part of the problem. He's struggled. He hasn't played good football in a while. And it's hurting the team. But neither are any of their other key position players. And the one thing that has held down the Kansas City Chiefs all season and hasn't been talked about a lot is their defense. Their defense has not been good. Even at their best, they were not playing up to the level that they were last year. I know they've dealt with some injuries. But that hasn't been good either. So I'm trying to think about what, is this a team that's going to be able to right itself? Sure, they're still in a good position. If they're not going to win the AFC West, then who's going to win that division? I know the San Diego Chargers are playing good football. but they're almost at a point where they can't afford to lose. So if the Chargers keep winning, the LA Chargers, then there's a good chance that they could win that division. But they're going to have to keep winning. The Oakland Raiders have been a joke. The Denver Broncos are even worse. And these same experts that you would have heard at the beginning of the National Football League season were talking about how strong the AFC West was. Doesn't look very strong right now. The league's certainly not going to have two teams go to the playoffs in that division. And you can make a case that the division winner might not even really be worthy of a playoff appearance. And I hope, just for the division as a whole's sake, that somebody steps up and plays some good football. So you got the Rams stepping up, playing a big game against the New Orleans Saints. I think that certainly puts them in a good position. The Vikings, who really very few people have spoken about how good the Minnesota Vikings have been. The talk over there is when they're going to go to their quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. Remember, Sam Bradford started the first game for them, had a great game. And it's been Case Keenum. And Case Keenum has done an outstanding job. He deserves the opportunity to quarterback this team. But I'll tell you, with all the attention that the Eagles and the Saints and the Rams are getting, nobody and very few people, even now, today, are talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Team that has lost all 4 of their Super Bowl appearances. And, of course, hasn't been there in a very, very long time. A team that deserves something from the football gods. And I'll tell you, this rapid ring around the rosy of NFC teams making a run and taking a shot at the Super Bowl, maybe it's time for Minnesota to get their chance. Look at the other teams that have gone there and failed. And I know Seattle won one. I know Green Bay won. I know before that the Giants won. But I'm talking about the Carolinas. Not just the Cam Newton Carolinas, but the Carolinas before that went to the Super Bowl. The Eagles, who had their chance with Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens. We can talk about team after team, whether it's the Atlanta Falcons. I know the Saints got themselves a Super Bowl. But I wonder at some point, we're going to get a chance to see the Vikings on the big stage. And this is all fodder, right? Because in the end, is there anybody out there that really believes that there's a team that's going to stop the New England Patriots? I'll tell you, until last year, I really believed it. But now we look at a New England Patriots team that over the series of the last 17 years has been so dominant that really deserves to be considered the absolute favorites until they're knocked out. And I don't think you could have said enough for what they did in that Super Bowl, coming back from that 28-3 deficit against the Atlanta Falcons. So is there anybody realistically that you could say could go out there and beat them on the big stage? Because you could talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm not making any headlines where I'm talking about the Steelers can never beat the Patriots. As we jump in with the halfway point here on the Pass Ball Show. Oh. John Pielli, happy to be with you. Once again, a number 732-364-3598. Couple topics. If it's on your mind and you want to talk about it, you can comment on the feed, whether it's Periscope, whether it's Facebook Live. After the show's over, we'll pop this up on YouTube. Comment away. Send me something on my Twitter handle, @John_Pielli. Was Greg Schiano wronged by this court of public opinion and Michael McQuarrie's name drop costing him a job and maybe costing him a chance to ever coach in college football again? Are the Patriots in the National Football League leaps and bounds better than every other team? Like, in other words, are they the heavyweight champion? You know, let's say Tyson in his prime, or Rocky Marciano in his prime, or Jack Johnson in his prime, that people are just throwing opponents out there for them to knock them out. Tell you, the Eagles interest me. The Vikings interest me. But I can't realistically see, even at their best, them being able to play solid enough against New England in a big game that I think they could win. And I'll tell you, and I know a lot of people are rooting against it. The non-Patriots fans are rooting against this. But I tell you, if they win the Super Bowl again, you're talking about a dominance that perhaps the entire National Football League has never seen. This is a team year in and year out has dominated. And they're sitting here after a couple of losses earlier in the season. And everybody was so quick to dismiss them, saying, hey, that's it. Their time's up. Kansas City Chiefs beat them. So it's the Kansas City Chiefs' time now. I mean, it's unbelievable what this team has done for the period of time that they've done it. And I honestly don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I mean, we could go back and talk about this time in football history when at some point it's going to end. Some point, Tom Brady's not going to be the quarterback of the New England Patriots. At some point, Bill Belichick is not going to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. But you're almost looking at a run like the Boston Celtics had when they were winning all those championships. winning at 57, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 68, 69. I mean, it's almost that kind of dominance. And obviously there's the haters. There's going to be haters of any team that dominates at that level. And the hate is going to come usually from people that aren't rooting for that team. But tell me, has there been, you can talk about the 49ers and the Cowboys and the Steelers and all the teams that had little runs. There hasn't been a team in the National Football League that has put season after season after season together the way the New England Patriots have. Once again, John Pielli here, Pass Ball Show, 732-364-3598. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball in a little bit, but I do want to get my message out there to the people of America. In Pass Ball Show, as long as I'm doing this, as long as I'm around, I hope to be the voice of reason when it comes to people that are continuously making bad decisions. And I'm not talking about bad decisions that are going to get you in trouble in regards to crime. I'm not talking about bad decisions that are made that are going to set you back individually. But I'm talking about bad decisions that you're making that are going to continue to set society back. And the society we're talking about here is a country that was created on the grounds of all the possible differences that exist in this world. And they're all put together under one roof. And because of that, there's a unity that exists amongst a collective group of people that are different. Different in all different ways. Different in the way they look, different in their beliefs, their philosophy, differences in their religion, what they value in life as opposed to what they don't value. And at one point provided the biggest strength. An army that's unified off of its differences is stronger than any army that exists amongst people that are put in a carbon copy or a cookie cutter to try to recycle and reproduce the same exact thing. And if you talk about years ago and what Adolf Hitler was trying to do, to create this superior race that all looked the same, all thought the same, and all was the same. The development of the United States of America was the exact opposite of that. How there was people of different, everything you could imagine, from looks to religion, to races, to nationalities. Every possible difference that could exist in a way somebody was, what somebody looked like, and what somebody was about was put under one roof and was also governed by the people. How could that not be the ideal nation or the ideal example of what a perfect country could be? It's all inclusive. Every one of us that makes this nation up is as different as you could possibly be for any reason. Yet we are choosing as a people to destroy that by categorizing each other and setting one army up against the other. For what? Because we have differences in beliefs and differences in opinions? It didn't just happen overnight. It was always this way. In the 200 plus years of the United States of America, it was a nation of immigrants. People from all over the world with all different philosophies and religious beliefs. And in cases where people don't believe in religion at all. Yet we all make up the same group of people in this country. Problem is we've started to take that for granted. And it's not that important anymore. Everything's about what do you think of the president? You either hate him or you love him. Everything's about what platform is my so-called group trying to push on everybody else. Yet a nation that was unified because of our differences is now separating, and it's separating by choice. You talked about segregation, which happened years ago, which never should have happened. And it was, a bad time. And obviously things were even worse than that in regards to race. But now we almost have voluntary segregation, where people who are deciding from all different races and nationalities and differences, as if its best foot forward is to just stick with people that look like you. And that's not what made this nation great. It's not what the United States of America was founded upon. So if you don't like the fact that somebody judges you because of whatever group you're so called in, then why are you being hypocritical by segregating yourself in a group? We're all created equal. God created each and every one of us as our children. And he's looking down upon us. And he's ashamed at what we're doing to each other. So if there's any part of what I've been saying that applies to you, because I figured out what applies to me, and I want to do better. I want to become a better person. If we all want to become better people and start looking at each other like we're all the same, who cares about what kind of difference we throw in each other's face? And by the way, when you're pointing out somebody's obvious difference, you think you're a rocket scientist? You think that you're the first person ever to notice that there was a difference in the way somebody looks than you? You're showing your lack of intelligence. And it's all you're doing. And collectively as a nation, we have lost our intelligence. And I tell you, all you have to look at is the other side. And the other side gets thrown back in our face way more often than we want it to. Whenever we have that next terrorist act, and it could be in this country, it could be in another country, somebody decides to grab a gun and start shooting. And then it smacks us back in the face to realize that we are not safe. And our enemies, whether they're inside our own country, whether they're outside of this country looking to harm us, they love the fact that the United States of America is a group of people that can't get along with each other. And it's a shame. But now all you have to do is if you want to know what's going on, you get to pick and choose your own news. Pick and choose what terrorist group you want to support. Are you supporting CNN or Fox News? Two of the more powerful domestic terrorist groups that exist in this country. And the other two are the Republicans and the Democrats. In their own words, in their own subliminal messages, they're preaching hate. So when you're watching the news, you're watching it, you're falling for the trap, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You are being shown on how you can hate and how you can separate yourselves for people that are supposed to be your equals. Or maybe you're told in a way where you feel like you're less of a person and then you get pissed off. Or you feel like you're told that you're given some kind of power or entitlement and you get pissed off. Don't you realize you're falling for the traps? There's going to come a time, and there should come a time, where most people look in the mirror and say, I don't want to be part of the divide anymore. It's time to be part of the solution. Once again, God created each and every one of us to be the same and to have the same opportunities. And you know what? No matter who you are, you could come up with some reason why you can make an excuse for not having an opportunity. But I'll tell you, the more people that talk about wanting to be part of the solution, we have the ability to grab a bigger group of the American people and have them on the same side. And I hope at some point we can talk about the United States of America people that want to be part of the unification of the people, that want to be part of the solution, that want to be unified with everybody, regardless of what it is that you look like. And then you can have the minority of the people that still want to belong to their own little group. The white group, the black group, the man group, the homosexual group. You can talk all day about groups. But when you're in a self-proclaimed group, it's taken a step away from the point you were trying to make, and you become a hypocrite. Because you talked about wanting to be equal, but you're making it all about your group. If everybody was equal, there would be no groups. So why do we have self-proclaimed groups? If we all want to be treated the same, why is it all about our individual group? There shouldn't be groups. We're all equal. please, just think about my message. That's all. Forget about my name. Forget about my voice. Just please try to listen to the message. So as we get back, wrapping up the program today, we'll be back with you tomorrow, 6 to 7 p.m., right here on Periscope and Facebook Live. And afterwards, we'll put the video up on YouTube so you can watch it later on. I am going to pick the Monday night game today. Pielli's picks as we sit right now. We went 3-2 yesterday. Won games with the Rams over New Orleans, Buffalo over Kansas City, Atlanta over Tampa Bay. Lost the Jets against Carolina. And I had a hunch, and I was wrong about this hunch. And honestly, if I had one pick that I was going to make the other day and I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to do it, it was when I picked the Browns to play close enough against Cincinnati, if not win the game outright. And I was wrong on that one. The Monday night game is going to be interesting for this reason. You have a team in Houston that's obviously without their quarterback and without one of the rising stars in this game. And Deshaun Watson has been so fun to watch. It's a shame that his season's over. Against a Baltimore Raven team that has been extremely Jekyll and Hyde. And I got to be honest, I'm looking at that 7.5-point line. And I'm really feeling. And that's about what it is. I can honestly see the Ravens winning this game and not covering. Or I could see them win the game and barely cover. So I'm going to go with my gut here. And it's going to cost me 7.5 points. I'm going to take the Ravens tonight against the Houston Texans. Right now we sit here at 8-10 on Pielli's picks over the last 5 weeks since we started doing the show Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. We got the 2 Cy Youngs and the 3 managers in baseball. I was right about the Cy Youngs, wrong about the managers. So we had a 2-3 record in there, making me 10-13 as we sit here on the 27th day of November, 2017. In closing today, I want to talk a little bit about something that we didn't see at this point last year in baseball. And my question, which I'll throw pretty much as my third question for the show. First one, is it strictly the court of public opinion that's going to keep Greg Schiano from ever getting a job as a head coach at a major college program again? Is there a chance that you'd have a legitimate bet if you took the field over the Patriots to win the Super Bowl right now? The third question I'll throw at you has to do with baseball. Why is it that the league's off season has gotten off to such a slow start? I mean, at this point last year, there were free agent signings and trades. Doug Fister agreed to a contract with the Texas Rangers. It was like he's the first free agent to sign. There are many teams with a lot of needs. You're not looking at 30 teams that are happy with the roster they're going to roll over the next season. I think some of it has to do with Giancarlo Stanton and his impending trade for the Miami Marlins, which we've spoken about. Some of it has to do with Shohei Ohtani, his situation finally getting cleared up to where he could become a free agent. All 30 teams should be involved, by the way. If you're a Major League Baseball team and you're talking about how you're not interested, what really are you interested in that? You're talking about a 23-year-old high-profile pitcher that isn't going to cost you any money. And, oh, yeah, he can also bat and play the field. So the team that says that they're not interested in that player is a team that should start thinking about contraction. 30 teams should make a legitimate bid to the player and the agent over why this player would make sense to be on their team. If not, what are you competing for? What are you competing for in regards to winning in a short term or winning in a long term? Pretty silly. Listen, Pass Ball Show will be back with you tomorrow, 6 p.m., talking about baseball, controversial sports topics, and unifying America. God bless you. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.